Okay, this is the brand new Fanatec Clubsport Formula V3 wheel, and I've been really struggling as I've been using this on how to describe it, because I've been dangerously close at times to use the word perfect or perfection. And the reason why I've done that is I've had some of the best sim racing I've ever had in my life with this steering wheel. And there is so much about it that you can tell has been evolved over like 14 years. This wheel first came out as a V1 in 2012. It then iterated into the V2, the V2.5, the V2.5X, and now it's the V3. Obviously we have a screen, as you can see here, but there's some other subtle differences as well. Now, I want to say, I never had the original V1. I never used the V2 or 2.5 that much. When I used them at expos and events, I never walked away thinking I really want to get that wheel, because it often just felt a bit too cramped for me. This wheel, as I understand it, has been widened. This is a 290 diameter wheel. That may have been just enough for me to kind of get used to the width now, but I've been using this in Formula cars, but also in GT3 cars, and like I say, I've been having some of my best sim racing in this wheel. Now, part of that I think is due to the fact that I've been using it on Fanatec's top of the range podium base. Part of it is that I've been using it in a Formula rig, the Playseat Formula Intelligence rig, which is a really like good seating position for me to drive accurately. So and also I've been driving on a massive ultra wide. So a lot of things have come together. But like I say, this is a fantastic wheel, and the price is $349, which is insane. I want to answer this question immediately. For me, this is a massively better buy for pretty much everyone than this. Okay? Unless you're some massive Porsche fan, this is so much better. I just want to get that out of the way. And also, I think this is a very competitive wheel from Fanatec generally. Like, I think Fanatec have got the pricing pretty spot on with this for $349. That's super aggressive considering that you got the screen in there as well. So let's get on to the functionality. Firstly, I want to shout out the shifters. Very, very, very nice shifters, and I'm going to explain why, and I'm going to contrast them with other wheels. So these shifters, firstly, they're quite dampened. I don't know how to explain it, but you apply pressure on it, and then as soon as it shifts, and there's no overrun. Can you see? If I compare that with, for example, this GT wheel from THRUSTMASTER, that, by the way, is $299, so it's only $50 cheaper. Look at all of this before I shift, and then there's more. So the shift is somewhere in the middle of that travel. Okay, small margins. You know, for most people, it's not going to be a problem. But I just want to, when I'm talking about dangerous word like perfection, this is obviously not a perfect wheel, so it's in certain elements is why I'm thinking of it. But these shifters, there's basically no pre-travel and there's no after travel. So really, really good shifters and very nicely dampened. It comes with the QR2 pre-installed, which is great. There's no reason, in my opinion, for this to come not with a QR2 installed. That would have driven me insane. Something that did drive me insane is that the process of updating my podium base and updating the firmware on this wheel was so painful. And I know I have to use all the time like beta firmware, because when you review stuff, it's like, you know, it's like a beta firmware. You have to use unusual ways to get it on your system, etc. But even then, just going into the Fanatec app and like the podium not always showing and stuff like that, and the process of even updating the firmware, you have to restart your computer like a billion times, is not very nice. So these are kind of touch points in the Fanatec ecosystem that, in my opinion, they really need to improve, because that's just going to annoy people and they're going to enviously look across at MOZA or maybe Conspit or whatever and be a bit jealous. But the QR2 comes pre-installed, which is fantastic. Then we get to the front. We have a screen, and it uses something called, I think, ITM, Fanatec call it. And this is an OLED screen, but it's not colour. Now, interesting tidbit for you. Please make sure, by the way, you subscribe, like this video, and make sure to use my affiliate links in the description if you want to buy this or anything else from any other brand. A little tidbit, Fanatec have said to me that they are working on wheels with colour screens. So I'm not sure why they've said that, because you might look at this as, oh, I'll just hold off and get one with a colour screen. But they say they are working on wheels with colour screens. Now this wheel here, I think it may be the same one as in the Fanatec DD Extreme, which I don't have that wheel. But it's quite a nice screen. It's OLED. It might look like it flickers in some of the footage I recorded. That's just the camera trick. It doesn't flicker in real life. Interestingly, you do need to have the Fanatec app open, which ties into what I said, because the Fanatec app, in my opinion, is not the nicest piece of software. So that's kind of a bit annoying. But then you can get some cool stuff, and you can get some interesting dashes. It's not SimHub compatible or anything like that. Interestingly, and this is a big issue, and we can't use the word perfection when things like this happen. Sometimes I noticed that the display didn't seem to match what was happening in my game, even though I had my Fanatec app all on the latest firmware and all the firmware up to date and everything. So there were times when I was gear shifting, and I'm sure that it was a different number on here than in the game, which is really weird, and like something that I've never seen before, and something that you really don't want to happen. I understand that the rev lights don't work correctly, but you know, the gear number should work. So that's a bit weird, and makes me think that maybe there's something hacky going on with the bridge between your sim, I was using iRacing, and the Fanatec app. The LEDs, by the way, are fantastic. I really like these LEDs. I like these a lot. I like these a lot. These are very nice. Very happy with these. In terms of the buttons, we've got a ton of buttons, as you can see. And then we've got the two funkies here either side. And then we've got these ones here, these up and downs, and 3 rotaries in the middle. There's also the little tuner button here that you can use to go through the dash. You have to combine it with like pressing other buttons, and it does all those combinations. I quite like the style of it. I quite like the black and white style. I've often seen this rim like in the Red Bull edition and the F1 editions, the forged carbon, but I really like this black and white style. I've got to be honest with you, like, it suits it for me. Grips. I like these grips way more than I thought I would. I thought the grips were going to be a deal breaker for me, because, as I understand it, new on this wheel, they're replaceable. And I rarely have a good experience with like replaceable grips. Like, I've been to the sim racing factories, and I've seen firsthand how they make grips and mold grips on the most expensive wheels. And it's a real art form to getting that mold correct and pouring it in and letting it settle. And I just don't think, generally, my philosophy is having a 2-part grip like this that's kind of screwed in. I just don't see how that could be the same as the real molded ones. However, I really like these grips. So the grips are nice, which is kind of a pro and a con. The pro is that obviously that's good that I like the grips, and I'm quite hard on grips generally in wheels, as you know. But secondly, it means that I'm not too fussed that they're replaceable. So, you know, I wouldn't be swapping these out for suede or whatever. But yeah, they have done it to make them replaceable, which is interesting. There's no clutch paddles on this wheel, which is not an issue for me because I don't really use clutches, but that may be an issue for some other people. And you can't use this wheel standalone. Like, there's no USB out on this wheel. And that's a real shame, because I think it'd be really ballsy by Fanatec if they made these wheels compatible just via USB. People could put whatever quick release they want on it. I think this is one of Fanatec's best products, and they shouldn't be ashamed of it, and they shouldn't restrict it. Now, I just want to mention build quality, which again feels really, really good. I've been reviewing a lot of hubs recently. I reviewed Fanatec's own Clubsport hub, and I really did not like putting that together. You saw my video. Been reviewing THRUSTMASTER's hubs and LOGITECH hubs. It's really nice to just review a wheel that's not a hub, and I haven't built it, and I haven't built it shoddily. And so you can see here, you have all the front of that is carbon fibre, which is really nice. So you've got a ton of carbon fibre there. It's not a sticker, so it's a very nice front plate. Now, on pricing, $349, as I said, is super competitive. Super competitive. It's the same price as the Porsche VGT, and I just don't understand really why you would get the Porsche VGT over this. Let me know in the comments if you would, but I would get the Fanatec all day. You know, especially given that this comes with the QR2 light as well. There's lots of reasons. Let me know if you want a separate video on that, and I can go into it. The elephant in the room really is probably the Conspit 300 GT. That is carbon fibre front and back, which is very nice. The Conspit 300 GT is a very nice wheel. But I think this goes toe-to-toe with the Conspit 300 GT. I've got to be honest. I think it goes toe-to-toe. And like I said, just to recap, I've been driving this on a Fanatec podium with my original V3 pedals I've had now for a very long time on a Formula rig, and I've been able to drive so precisely and have so much fun and enjoyment. But a lot of that is like all of those components coming together, and this doesn't feel like a weak link in that. Even though this is probably the cheapest item, it's cheaper than the V3s by a little bit, it's much cheaper than the podium, and it's much cheaper than the cockpit. This doesn't feel like a weak link. So that experience I had was pretty much sim racing perfection driving, and this is a part of it. So yeah, it's not the perfect wheel. There's been cons, as I've explained, but I think the pricing is very competitive. I think it's kind of like, probably to me this justifies the price over the CSL wheel, the old McLaren CSL wheel that I really enjoy. I may slightly still prefer the grips on the Fanatec on the McLaren CSL wheel, but that's a pretty close run thing. But let me know what you think. This is it, the new V3 wheel. It's like an evolution. It's not a revolution thing, but color screens, they say, are coming. Where are those going to land? We'll see.